and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
We come together by the light of the chalice flame. Please join me in our words for lighting the chalice. And if you are joining us on Zoom, we invite you to light a candle or a chalice at home along with us. We light this flame as a symbol of new life, enlightening our way, as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, and of love. May we share that light with all people. Good morning. We're so glad to welcome you to the Fox Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship this morning, whether you're joining us here in this room or from your home. I'm Beth Delmore, and I'm new to the role of this worship leading, and I'm excited to be your worship leader this morning. I've been a part of the fellowship since we were on Superior Street moving around wooden chairs. And one of my earliest and best memories of that place is when we were becoming a welcoming congregation to make real our welcome of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. I loved knowing that my family would be welcome there. It's very important to me. I've played different roles over the time, but one of the constants for me is that I need to be in a community of people who are striving on their own spiritual journeys, and I have found that here. I'm currently also in a journey circle, my second one, and help with the meal ministry. If this is your first time visiting the fellowship, I want to extend you a special welcome. Our Director of Congregational Life, Marie Luna, would love to help you get connected here. There are so many ways. Feel free to chat with her after the service or send her an email. It's now time to settle in. Take a deep breath. Become aware of your body wherever you are. Allow yourself to come to this sanctuary so that we can be fully present to this time together.
Good morning again. We are gathered together in this space and online from home, and we want to take a moment to greet each other. So if you're joining us by Zoom, in a moment I will invite you to turn your camera on. You can go ahead and do that now, turn your camera on, because we would like to see who is joining us at home. But right now, if you are in this room, I invite you to kind of turn toward the center and wave to everybody at home. We're so happy to see you. Yay! Keep going, keep waving. Adam has to swing the cameras back and forth. It's a lot of work. And we'll see who's on at home. Hi, everybody. We're so glad to see you. Thank you, everyone. It's so nice to see each other's faces and to have this wonderful technology to make it possible to do that. Now that we have gathered into this room together, our responsive call to gather is adapted from the poet Dorothy Monroe. When I indicate like this, your response is, life is worth the cost. Let's try that together. Life is worth the cost. Death is not too high a price to pay for having lived. Mountains never die, nor do the seas or rocks or endless sky. Through countless centuries of time, they stay eternal, deathless, yet they never live. Life is worth the cost. If choice there were, I would not hesitate to choose mortality. Whatever fate demanded in return for life, I'd give. life is worth the cost. For never to have seen the fertile plains, nor heard the winds, nor felt the warm sun on sands beneath a salty sea, nor touched the hands of those I love. Life is worth the cost. Without these, all the gains of timelessness would not be worth one day of living and loving, come what may. Life is worth the costs.
We as Unitarian Universalists strive to encourage a spiritual stance of abundance, rejecting a scarcity mindset with fear and shame around resources. We take this time each week as a moment of practice, of taking stock of what we have, cultivating peace when we need to ask for support, and giving with joy when we are able to offer. For those of you who would appreciate some support, we are here to help. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Reverend Leah, Reverend Christina, or to Minister Allie if you are in need of financial or emotional support. It is a joy for us to be able to offer help on behalf of this beloved community. And if you are feeling somewhat stable and able to give, we ask that you do so in that spirit of abundance. You can give of your time and talent, and we especially need financial resources to allow our ministries to thrive for the months and years to come. If you are here in our sanctuary, you can come up to one of our offering baskets, which our ushers are holding near the back of the sanctuary, or you can raise your hand if you want an usher to come to you, or anyone can donate online or via our text to give function on a smartphone. Thank you. Your gifts are deeply appreciated.
Our settling song is 96, I Cannot Think of Them as Dead, verses 1 and 2. I cannot think of them as dead who walk with me no more. Along the path of life I tread, they are but gone before. They are but gone before. And still their silent ministry within my heart has place, as when on earth they walked with me and met me face to face, and met me face to face.
Our first reading is an excerpt from an interview on the radio show On Being with Krista Tippett with the surgeon and author Atul Gawande about his book, Being Mortal, Medicine and What Matters in the End. Krista Tippett begins. This whole matter of our mortality, I was just thinking about the title, Being Mortal, and the fact that being alive is a fatal condition, that we all do have a diagnosis, that we will die, and that you just experience again and again and write about how people are almost always surprised. It's just so fascinating about us. Do you think, she says, It's that we don't let it into our consciousness, that we haven't gotten to that point where we can, or that we resist that? Dr. Gawande answers, yes, I dove into that topic because I was as confused about it as you are. First of all, I didn't know what it meant to be a good doctor for mortal beings. The question of what does it mean to be competent with people who are going to have problems you cannot fix. And the situation that disturbed me were the ones where someone would come in, they would have a condition that I knew was incurable, a terminal cancer. And we don't know, is it going to be a year or 3 years or 5 years? And therefore we start trying. We have new technologies, so we just start trying stuff. Should we try surgery? Well, yes, we have to give it a try. And then maybe they never wake up again. And then you see the suffering that has come from that, because we never once talked about the fact that their life is mortal. I didn't even know how to begin to have that conversation, and then they never woke up. They spent the next couple of weeks in the ICU, and then we unplugged the machine, and they didn't get to say goodbye. They didn't get to say, I love you. They didn't get to say, I'm sorry. And what I realized is we were not talking about death or dying. We were talking about how do you live a good life all the way to the end with whatever comes. That's what you begin to unpack.
Our second reading is a guided meditation on dying by the UU ministers Joshua Leach and Seth Robinson. For this guided meditation, I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Close your eyes if you like, and take a deep breath. And another. And now imagine that your death is a person. What does this person look like? Is this person angry and cruel, or laughing and kind? Does this person attract you or repel you? Imagine that this person has been with you your whole life. From the moment you were born, your death came into the world to keep you company. Your death is your oldest companion and friend who has never given up on you. Your death does not make its presence known to you when you don't wish to think about it, but neither does it allow you to delude yourself when you fancy yourself immortal. Your death will come to you at last, but you don't know how or when. It may tap you politely on the shoulder, or it may cough and nudge you to get your attention. Or your death may come to you when you very least expect it. It may come to you when you don't wish it to come, when it is the very last person you wish to meet. You may hate your death and fear it. That is okay. Your death realizes this and does not mind. So imagine now that you are finally meeting your death face to face. Your death knows you do not wish to meet it, and it's saddened by the fact because it is your oldest friend and companion and wishes to be loved by you. You ask your death, why? Why should you love it? How does it answer? Does it remind you that you could not live if you did not also die? Does it tell you that life and death are not enemies of one another, but two sides of the very same coin? Does it remind you of other things that you love, even though they too are finite, limited, and terminal? Other people, places, memories, objects? Or does it say nothing at all, or something else entirely? What does your death look like now? Can you still see it? Does it look the same as it did at the beginning, or has it changed? How do you feel when you stand face to face with this death, who came into the world with you the moment you were born, and who will take leave of it at your side as well. Now, conscious of that intimacy you've newly forged with your death, allow your attention to linger there at that moment of encounter. Or let your mind take you where it will, touched by this meeting. Breathe again deeply, in and out. Continue breathing deeply into this knowing as the music bears us on.
We saw a ghost inside our house, or was it wishful thinking? Oh God, don't leave us by ourselves, or we're bound to take up drinking. Please send us a miracle, so I know that there is meaning. He said, I think that it's a miracle just to be breathing. So live on, baby, live on. Live on, baby, live on. Packed up my clothes in a grocery bag, and I'm going to find the Creator. An old man in the clouds, or a happy little alien. Whoever it is, I need to thank her. And even though I don't know God, I'm happy with the mystery, and I'm certain that I feel it every time that you sing to me in songs. You say life is like a song. It's a song, a hummable song. I watched you sleep until 5 a.m. 'cause I wanna be part of your dreaming. Oh love, don't leave me by myself, or I'm bound to lose my meaning. We'll start a little family and call it our religion. We'll hunt for ghosts inside our house, 'cause we'll never give up wishing that we live on. May we live on in our song, our hummable song.
This side never wants to come off. I worked in human services for over 40 years, specializing in gerontology. And in that time, I had the privilege of walking with many people in the last days of their life and co-founded the Fox Valley End of Life Coalition, which is now known as the Fox Valley Advanced Care Planning Partnership. As a part of that mission, I was trained in and facilitated healthcare power of attorney and end-of-life conversations and the completing of documents. It is often said that we teach what we need to learn. It led me to be more comfortable with initiating my own conversations with my significant others and my doctor. I had and continue to have those conversations and have completed my planning documents. I am more comfortable with the idea of getting to the end of my life, but I am not really ready to meet my death yet. One of the lessons I learned is that how we think about our own end of life is largely influenced by the deaths of those closest to us. Our experience of their experience influences us at all levels. This became very real for me with the passing of my mother. In 2003, my mother was a healthy, active 76-year-old who was living alone in her own home when a virus rapidly and permanently destroyed the functioning of her kidneys. With such a dramatic health incident, my mom, sister, and I craved accurate information, trying to understand what was happening and what the treatment options were. As a result of some very focused homework, my mom chose dialysis in a center. Indeed, 3 times a week for 9 years, for 4 hours. And she took specialized transportation to a center and then came home quite weak to rest for the remainder of that day. But it bought her some wonderful times and experiences. 2 of her grandsons' wedding, one in Las Vegas and one parading in an Indian wedding ritual with another. She continued her very active volunteer work on her good days, driving, living independently, and to affirm that while those treatments were very difficult, they were worth it. She developed great relationships with her kidney doctor and the staff at the center. They became like family. However, as she lived into her mid-80s, she began asking questions of her doctor, her pastor, and her daughters about what if she ended treatments. My mom began to say to me that she was getting tired, and increasingly she didn't wish to go out. The 3 times a week dialysis outings were not a life. She had decided to stop, but wasn't sure about when. My sister was not at all comfortable and refused to have these conversations with my mom. I supported her decision and promised I would be there to care for her at home. So I began to work out of my employer's office in Eau Claire and spend more time living with her. That was a blessing. We had great conversations, lots of time to say those things so important at any times of our lives, but particularly near the end. Thank you. Forgive me. I forgive you, and I love you. It is acknowledged peacemaking put in writing by Dr. Ira Byock in his book, The 4 Things That Matter Most. On my last work week there, I was getting ready to leave. She woke up at 6 a.m. and made her famous poached eggs for me. We hugged each other, spoke our mutual love, and she waved at me from the picture window, as was always her practice. The following Friday, she did not answer the door for her dialysis transportation, and my sister, her emergency contact, arrived to find that she had died in her bed. The fistula in her arm that had been created and facilitated her dialysis had been growing increasingly weak. It had given way, and she died of blood loss, mostly in her sleep. It was shocking for us. But as the day went on, and I was traveling to be there, words from my mother's beliefs came to my mind. God opened the door, and she walked through it. I am so grateful to have walked this journey with her.
Thank you, Beth. I start with these words from the Reverend Forrest Church, a Unitarian Universalist minister who died in 2009 after a long experience with cancer. These words come from his final book entitled Love and Death: My Journey Through the Valley of the Shadow. Quote, "Death is central to my definition of religion. Religion is our human response to being alive and having to die. We are not the animal with advanced language or tools as much as we are the religious animal. Knowing that we must die, we question what life means. The answers we arrive at might not be religious answers, but the questions that death forces us to ask are at heart religious questions. Where did I come from? Who am I? Where am I going? What is life's purpose? What does this all signify? Death," Forest Church writes, "is not life's goal, only life's terminus. The goal is to live in such a way that our lives will prove worth dying for. The one thing that can't be taken away from us, even by death, is the love we give away before we go." End quote. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, we participate in a non-creedal tradition. This means that we do not have a set statement of beliefs that you need to agree to in order to belong. So among our ranks, we have a wide range, a wide diversity of belief about God or no God, about life and the afterlife. We admit that we aren't sure about a lot of things and that that's okay. But one thing of which we are certain is that we are given this life as a gift and that we must use it to the best of our ability. We focus here not on beliefs, but on actions. And so we know that because life is a gift and because it is limited, this means that we believe life to be infinitely precious. We are not waiting for a coming eternity. The days we have are not promised to last forever. They are a limited commodity. Our days are a miraculous gift, and we are called to use them with responsibility to improve the world and share our love. As Forest Church said, the goal is to live in such a way that our lives will prove worth dying for. And so as a people of faith, we spend our time focusing on life, not death. We don't worry too much about afterlife here. We're definitely not trying to save anyone's soul. That all goes back to the idea that we have different beliefs. But because we focus so much on life, we can forget that death is a reality. Today, in this, our 4th Sunday of Monster Month, we're talking about ghosts. So far, we've explored conspiracies with Bigfoot and Nessie, being out of control with werewolves. We've looked at the risk of othering people as we considered witches. And next week is our Halloween service, the power of masks. Feel free to come in costume next week. I will. But today, ghosts. Ghosts are a part of many cultures around the world. Some believe them to be kind and beneficial and helpful, while other cultures believe ghosts to be scary and dangerous. Often, ghosts are believed to be restless spirits, those who have unfinished business here on earth, and so they linger here, trying to get that business finished. In an effort to avoid becoming a restless ghost, we encourage you to consider now that life is limited, that death is a reality, and that making your plans is the most loving thing that you can do for those that you will leave behind. And it will put your own mind and spirit at ease. The Buddhist path allows for this reality to be contemplated regularly. The first of the Buddhist 4 noble truths is that life involves suffering and death. Stoicism also has a spiritual practice of contemplating one's own death and the grief of losing important people or things in our lives. This reality that none of us are going to get out of this alive can free us from the clinging that can happen to ideas, to fear, and worst of all, to stuff. It also can give us gratitude and joy for the time, the things, and the connection that we do have. But because our society allows us to forget, and our society is working more and more at allowing us to forget that we will die, then we go about our lives as if we will live forever. We don't want to make plans or talk about what we hope for in death. We can't always choose. Sometimes death comes suddenly, an illness, an accident, a heart attack. Sometimes we're given a little bit more warning. And when death comes with a little warning, we want to be able to get as much life as possible out of those last weeks, days, or hours. And for each person, quality of life might mean something different. Surgeon Atul Gawande talks about end of life and the medical obsession with extension of life at all costs in his book, Being Mortal. The central message of the book is that we need to talk early and often about what end-of-life treatments and trade-offs that we consider desirable or tolerable. Well, if I'm able to eat chocolate ice cream and watch football on TV, then I'm willing to stay alive, a spinal tumor patient tells his daughter. I'm willing to go through a lot of pain if I have a shot at those two things. That crucial insight guides the daughter through tough decisions when a subsequent spinal surgery goes wrong. The most poignant storytelling in the book deals with Gawande's own father, who also develops a spinal tumor. For the senior Gawande, also a surgeon, ice cream and football are not enough. His fear of paralysis dictates a different set of treatment choices. These examples illustrate that there's no right answer and no wrong answer either, other than, gosh, doc, I don't know what she would have wanted, so I guess you better keep going. The kindest and most loving thing that you can do for your family and friends is to tell them what you want at the end of your life, to make your wishes known so that they can be prepared for that hopefully far off inevitability. It's important to have this conversation with our loved ones about what we want, how we want to be cared for, what kinds of medical interventions we do or do not want, and what we want to be done with our remains after we die. The paperwork is crucial. A medical power of attorney, for example. But alongside that paperwork, and perhaps even more important than the paperwork, is the conversation. No one loves having this conversation. It's not that fun. But it's the most loving thing you can do so that when the time comes and you are nearing the end of your life, your children, your parents, your spouse, your loved ones are not shocked by the decisions you put in your paperwork. Mom said, "What?" You do not want that to be the result. And that we want them to all be in agreement about what you wanted. Oh yes, we know this. That's what we want them to say. And in order to have that conversation, you have to think about your own wishes. What do you want? What do you prioritize? Chocolate and football? Or is it your mobility and independence? Do you want to be completely free of pain? Or are you willing to tolerate pain because you want to be awake and aware for as long as possible? If you aren't sure what your priorities are, I encourage you to borrow one of these decks of cards from me. I only have a few left, but I'll order some more. It's set up like the game Go Fish, but it's called Go Wish. On each card are different priorities, and you can work with your loved ones to each find your priorities for end of life. I have lent these cards to several congregants, including John Riopel, who you might recall was a member here who died from stage 4 pancreatic cancer after a short battle with that illness this past spring. He and his wife, Diane, expressed their appreciation for these simple cards, how they help them think and plan ahead. If you want to think a little bit about your own memorial service, what your wishes are for that. You can meet with me or with our assistant minister, Allie. We would be happy to help you think about readings, music, and other elements that would be meaningful in your memorial service. I recently officiated 2 memorial services in which the deceased left clear instructions about what they wanted, including hymns and songs. It was a joy to be able to say to those who were gathered, "Your loved one picked this song." Then they enjoyed it that much more for that reason. We keep a file in our office for everyone who wants to share with us those wishes, and how amazing it is for your loved ones when they call our fellowship office to let us know that their loved one died. To hear us say, "Oh, I am so sorry for your loss. Yes, your father has a bunch of stuff here that he would like for his memorial service. One of our ministers will work with you to plan the service." What a relief for them. Now they don't have to worry about guessing what you wanted. If you want to see a memorial planning form, we have a link at the bottom of the page of our website for rituals. So go to our website, fvuuf.org, click Services, and that will bring a drop-down menu, and you can choose Rituals and Ceremonies. And on that page, fvuuf.org, Services, Rituals and Ceremonies, there are links at the bottom of the page to help you with advanced directives and also to help with planning your memorial service. When I meet with people who are sick or dying, they often tell me they don't care what happens when they die. They don't care if they're cremated or buried, or what songs are sung at their memorial. What do I care? I won't be here. No, you won't be here. But others will be here. And we don't want your loved ones to fight over what they think you wanted. We don't want a difference of opinion about whether to continue your treatment or to cremate your body or where to host your memorial service to cause a family fight. You want them to feel confident and empowered to carry out your wishes and not to agonize over hard choices. Consider that telling people what you want is not you being a control freak. And I think that's what people are afraid of. Well, what do I care? I don't want to control it all. It's not that. It is you freeing your family from even more decisions when they should be processing their own sadness and grief. Similarly, making plans for your worldly possessions is also a gift. Making choices about where your home, your car, your money, life insurance will go, to family, to charities, to the fellowship. Those documents are needed, not only because they provide clear instructions, but because they free your loved ones from making even more choices or struggling through court battles to determine where your last gifts will go. The Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, died in 2018 without any will or trust to her fortune. Franklin's niece, Sabrina Garrett Owens, was appointed to be the executor of the estate. An article in Forbes magazine says this about Franklin's family situation. Quote, "The big question will be whether the family can continue to agree as the estate administration begins. Under Michigan law, all 4 of Aretha's children are equal beneficiaries to the estate, but they do not have an equal say on how the estate is administered. To the contrary, Owens now has all decision-making power. She can solicit input from Aretha's sons if she wants to, but the decisions are hers to make and hers alone. And those decisions were difficult. How are Aretha's many royalties to be managed? What should be done about the expected numerous offers for sanctioned movies, documentaries, books, specials about Aretha's life? Should Aretha's songs be used for commercials? If so, what kind? Should her image be licensed to sell products?" The article goes on and on about the legal and financial ramifications of the fact that Aretha Franklin had no will when she died. Now, it's my assumption that none of us has the kind of estate that the Queen of Soul had. If you do, be sure to list the fellowship in your estate plans. Kidding, not kidding. In reality, no matter our estate, we should all be doing that. We should be making these plans and listing the fellowship in them. But the fact remains that the questions, plans, problems, dragged out court proceedings can be prevented with a simple document. We'll hear and see more in a little bit about some resources that our Generosity Ministries team has assembled for you to assist in these plans, both for estate planning as well as for funeral and disposition planning. As the air turns cold and the veil between the living and the dead grows thin, we welcome those spirits of those who have passed from life, and we pray that they are well rested. We also take this time as the holidays approach, and we prepare to gather with friends and family to let them know about our own end-of-life wishes to avoid becoming a restless, haunting ghost ourselves. Amen, and may it be so.
Our hymn is number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Thank you, Steve. I love that hymn. I want that one at my memorial service, please. We are a people of all ages who bring our joys and concerns to this time together. We hope that you experience a welcome that helps you find the connection of mutual support, a spirituality that helps you find meaning, peace to ground you, and a zest for rediscovering life as it unfolds. We invite you to let us be a resource in our common quest to celebrate happy moments, seek healing and wholeness, and to continually rediscover whoever and wherever we each might be on the path of existence. For those of you joining in person after the service, you can take a stone from the bowl at the back of the sanctuary and place it in our fellowship chalice as a symbol of our loving community surrounding you supportively. Or you can join a member of our care team outside who will offer a listening presence. For those attending virtually, you can share in the chat box whatever joy, concern, prayer request, or intention might be on your heart or on your mind. We place a stone in our chalice now on your behalf. For care and connection during the week, please reach out to Minister Allie or to Reverend Leah or contact our office. If you'd like to be included in our weekly care email, you can call or email anyone on staff or fill out the form on our website. May the joys and concerns that we share with each other or simply hold in our hearts' silent sanctuaries draw us together so that our joy is amplified, our sorrow comforted, and our life journeys witnessed. We now turn our attention to the joys and concerns wider than those of our gathered community. We allow our mind and heart to reach out in ever-widening circles, outward like the ripples in water. This act of heart expanding might feel joyful, or it might be uncomfortable or even painful, but our faith reminds us that stretching ourselves in this way to this awareness is the first act toward creating a community and a world more filled with love and justice. Our first stone is for the joys, concerns, and transitions here among us. Particularly, we hold the recent death of a beloved fellowship member, apparently by suicide, and we hold all who love her in our hearts. As the water ripples out, we add another stone to expand our hearts to the wider Fox Valley community, to the state of Wisconsin, and to the United States. This week, we honor all who have been touched by suicide, including those who are contemplating suicide, and we pray that they know that there are always alternative options. We lift up the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and the Wisconsin Suicide and Crisis Hotline. As the ripples continue, we add our final stone for the wider world, a recognition of our deep interconnection with those across borders and oceans. This week, we hold again the people of Afghanistan, whose Taliban government continues to oppress people there, particularly women, and whose ongoing violence has led to continued crisis. With our expanded hearts, we enfold all who are celebrating and all who are suffering in the embrace of our hearts. We commit ourselves to acts of compassion and justice in service to those circles beyond our own. May this moment of silence help to make it so.
Our time together is coming to a close, which means our time to return to the world and to our daily lives is beginning. Our hope is that each week, when we worship together, we provide each other with inspiration and empowerment to connect our values with our actions. Remember, there are always ways to get connected here, both in person and online, and to live our faith more fully. Please be sure to read the Weekly Scroll email newsletter for more ways to connect, or let us know if you'd like to be added to that mailing list. You can also check the back of your order of service for upcoming events. I invite up Suzanne Marnaka from our Generosity Ministries team to share one special announcement with you in honor of today's service.
Thank you, Marie. And thank you, Reverend Christina, for an extremely powerful service. And Steve, you know how much I love Cloud Cult. I actually have their tattoo on my arm. We've been to 24 concerts. They're a very meaningful group, so I appreciate that. That was a wonderful tribute. Well, wait a minute. I'm really short. I'm going to follow Reverend Christina. Oh, look.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Marnaka, a member of the Generosity Ministries team. Our team is charged with ensuring both the ongoing financial viability and of the fellowship through the annual pledge campaign, and the long-term financial health of the fellowship through contributions to our endowment fund by our members. I'm here to update you today on our team's work and to share some upcoming opportunities regarding the Acorn Society and estate planning that helps the fellowship's endowment grow. Fellowship members who have donated to the endowment or let us know that they have remembered the endowment in their estate plans become members of the Acorn Society. Please notify Phyllis Schmidt of your plans so you can be recognized as an Acorn member. Later this year, we will honor Acorn Society members with a beautiful art piece in our lobby. Thanks to Mary Gerlach and Margaret Alexander for creating this piece for us. We will also be encouraging new additions to our Acorn Society during the next year with a drive for 22 new members from now through 2022. Catchy. We'll take more than 22, but whatever. To help you better understand the endowment process and estate planning, the Generosity Ministry team has created 2 new videos of local experts answering questions from fellowship members about estate planning and funeral costs for end-of-life planning. It is important to all of us that we do not burden our family and others upon our death, and that each of us leaves specific plans reflecting our final wishes. We hope that these videos will inspire you to take control of your final plans, and please consider the fellowship in your will or trust. The first video features State Attorney Joe McClear answering questions about when you need an estate plan and how much it costs, and more. And the second video has Lucas Denzo, Director of Operations for Wickman Funeral Home, answering questions related to funeral costs, planning, and green funerals. Both people generously shared their time for free with us to help our members understand more about end-of-life and estate planning. We anticipate these videos will be sent out to all fellowship members this afternoon. We are going to have a little teaser and show you a little bit of one of them before we leave today. Very, very short. So Generosity Ministries team has ongoing plans to better communicate the needs of the fellowships in financial terms and to underscore diverse opportunities to meet those together as a community. Friends and members of the fellowship can contribute in several ways. First, the next time you're here in the fellowship webpage, explore a tab called Giving. It has a lot of information under it. Or you could make a cash contribution each Sunday when the plate is passed. Boy, it's hard to say, plate is passed. Enjoy some time and camaraderie with others from our fellowship during fundraisers. Complete your annual pledge in a timely fashion, preferably by electronic funds transfer or ETF. Consider making an endowment gift, either by making a cash contribution or including the fellowship in your estate planning. As Marie said, please follow valuable information in the weekly scroll, which is the newsletter you can get online, our Facebook site, or the fvuuf.org website. Thank you all for supporting our beloved fellowship.
But how can I be sure that my wishes for burial are carried out?
In the state of Wisconsin, there is a document. It's called the Right of Final Disposition. It's a document that we work with all the time with families. This document is a document that you can assign one individual to carry out your wishes. The reason that's so important is in the state of Wisconsin, when someone passes away, their next of kin are responsible for their funeral planning and disposition. The next of kin isn't always the person you want making that decision. There's cases in which there's boyfriends, girlfriends that have been together for 25 plus years, but they never got married. When an individual passes away, the right of final disposition oftentimes reverts to a brother, an estranged son, an elderly parent, somebody that maybe wasn't involved in their life for the last 25 years, but state law indicates in the state of Wisconsin, the next of kin, whether they be your best friend or your worst enemy, takes over for your next disposition questions. This document, the right of final disposition, can be prepared to elect any person to make those final decisions. It can be your best friend, it can be someone you trust, it can be somebody that you know will carry out your wishes. There's no financial strain on that individual. Oftentimes it goes hand in hand with funding ahead, but really it's saying, I know this person will carry out my wishes no matter what. In the state of Wisconsin, even if you plan for a cremation for yourself, if the next of kin decides that's not what I want to do, they have that right unless you elect the right person to be doing it. And again, this is a document that our advanced funeral planners, they have on hand, use it all the time. We have a notary notarize exactly who we should talk to. And then when the time comes to make those decisions, me as a funeral director, I see this piece of paper, I say, okay, I'm not talking to the son. We haven't seen him for 30 years. I'm talking to the girlfriend. They've been together for 25 years. I know who to talk to, and they have the legal right to carry out these wishes.
Now, as we prepare our hearts to leave this gathering, I invite you to ponder what you wish to take home with you. What lesson, idea, or theme that you'll carry with you from this time together back to your daily life. Let's say our word together, a joyful chorus for our intentions for the week. 1, 2, 3. Planning. Let us now extinguish our chalice flame, even as we still hold its light in our hearts. Please join me in our unison words. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world. After these closing words, we'll hear a postlude song. We invite those of you who want to stay in the sanctuary or on Zoom for a time of sharing and conversation about the themes of our service. Everyone else is welcome to use that time to either log off or make your way out of the building to allow time to circulate our air. And with that, go in peace, knowing we await to embrace you upon your return.